Do you have questions about irises? Well, today we're going to answer all your questions. Hi, I'm Susan from In the Garden Sue, and today I'm here with my mom, Pat Rhodes. Here's my mom, Pat Rhodes, and I have some questions for you about irises. Mom, why do you dig them up?
Well, because they keep growing, and it keeps growing, and they send out these rhizomes. They're not called bulbs, they're called rhizomes. They grow, and then when they get too crowded, they don't bloom as well. So I had a huge patch that we just dug up, and I should have had about 30 blooms in it, and I only had 6 this year. So every 2 years for the rebloomers, I dig them up, and every 3 to 4, we're supposed to dig up the other ones.
Mom, how many different varieties do you have?
I probably have 80 to 100 different varieties.
80 to 100.
Some people in my club have 400 or 500. I'm just a small grower.
Mom, show us how you cut them after you dig them up. What do you do to prepare them to give them away to all of us children and grandchildren?
Okay, so after you dig them, you shake off the dirt. See how nice roots they have, system they have. I'll show you how to trim that in a minute. Then you trim off all the dead part, and then you take off the each section, each rhizome that has roots on it. And then actually we trim the roots. We don't need all those roots, just got a handful. Okay, and then we come to look at the leaves, and we want to end up with a fan shape. So we go up with this side, and we turn it and go down with this side.
And why do you have to do that?
Well, this is because when you replant them, you don't want all that extra foliage, and they do better. You want them to concentrate on the root system and less on the leaves.
So the energy goes to the root.
To the bulb, yes.
Okay, great.
And then I usually write the name on it. This one happens to be Aleppo Plain,
Oh, okay.
which is what the plant looks like. This is a single bloomer. It blooms just in the spring for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
And then what do you do to the leaf here? You have to write it on. You write it on there.
Yeah, write it on the leaf.
So then we can go ahead and plant those just like this.
Exactly.
And when should we plant them?
July and August are the best months.
Uh-huh.
September and October will do okay too, but they get the best chance for new growth if you plant them in July and August.
And how far apart should I plant, like each one?
At least 12 inches. About 18 or 20 inches is really better because they will grow together.
Okay. Okay, Mom. I noticed that some of the labels have TB, and some of them have TBRE. Can you explain the difference between these two irises?
Yes, this is in the olden days we only had tall bearded that would only bloom in the springtime, and now with hybridization, where people have worked with their irises and hybridized them, we now have rebloomers, and these will bloom in the spring and again in the fall. So the RE stands for rebloomer. TB stands for tall bearded. Now there are intermediate bearded, and there's dwarf. There's all sorts of classes of the irises.
So here's some irises back here, Mom, and that you already dug up. But let's pretend that they're in your landscape.
Okay.
What would you do in the fall? Would you leave them there? Would you cut them back? What would you do?
Well, normally what I do is just the leaves that begin to get yellow and brown, I take those off as I'm weeding. But you can cut these back in a faded shape, leaving some growth, some green growth on the regular single blooming ones, just the regular TBs, the regular tall beardeds. But if you have the REs, which are going to be rebloomers, you wouldn't want to be cutting these back because they're going to bloom in the fall.
Gotcha.
So we leave this alone. And the only reason I'm digging those today is because these rebloomers that should have had 15 to 20 blooms on this big plot only had like 5 or 6 this past fall. So in order to get them to bloom again and look pretty again,
You have to
I'm
divide
putting them
them.
back. Yeah, we have to divide them.
You have to divide
Because
them.
if you don't divide them, you won't get as many blooms.
Okay. So I have another question for you. My irises had seed heads on them this year after they were blooming. Can I take those off and plant those as seeds?
You need to take them off, but the only reason you would be, well, 2 reasons you take them off. One would be if you were going to hybridize. You would use those seed heads for that. The second reason is because you don't want them to, if they fall to the ground, they will reseed themselves, and they will not be the color when they come back. They will go back to one of the parents.
So they won't be the clone.
Yeah,
There'll be a hybrid
There-
of that. So if you want the parent, you better take one of the.
So say if this one is purple, growing, your iris is purple, the seed head falls to the ground, and another plant starts to come up, it could be purple from the seed head cell. So you want to get rid of those. If you're not hybridizing, just get rid of them.
Okay, and because they hybridize because the bees go and pollinate them, and they pollinate from different flowers.
Right.
So then the seeds really are a daughter or a son of two parents, but we don't really know the other parent. We just know one.
Exactly. So
Okay.
they're not going to be the true color, the color that you have in that clump.
Gotcha. Show us how to divide those.
Okay, so this is one that I've started to divide. This is called the mother bulb right here. And this was a bloom stalk from last year. So this part will not bloom next year. So what we do is we take this part off because it has a root system like that. And so this is our new plant with roots at all. And then this one, some people plant this mother bulb and we will get some growth, but it'll probably take 3 to 4 years to get a bloom.
Okay, so this is the one we really want.
Yes, and this should bloom either next year or the following year, definitely.
Okay. How do you divide this one? It doesn't actually have a mother bulb on it.
Well, actually, it does over here.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, so this one, so you just break this off here. Okay, so that's the mother bulb. You could plant that or you could discard it.
Okay.
And then here is your plant. And if there's enough roots, you actually could take this one off. See, there's enough roots there for a plant.
Okay, so there's roots there and there's roots
And so,
there.
yeah, this would actually be a mother bulb. Now, there is a tiny plant here, but there's no growth on here, so I would keep that all with the mother bulb.
Okay.
I'm gonna trim the roots like I showed you before.
Mm-hmm.
We cut them right there. And then we trim right here, if I can find my scissors. After you trim them up, there's like, this was a broken leaf, you kind of pull that off, you can pull this off a little bit. And then the very best thing that you're going to do next is to disinfect it, because you don't want to pass any, if there's any bacteria germs in your garden, you don't want to pass those on to another gardener. They wouldn't like that. So I put this into a solution, 10% bleach water solution, and soak it about 15 minutes, and then shake it, put it into a tub of water, plain water, and let that soak for 10 minutes. And then take that out, and then I go and lay them in the grass in the sun, and that dries everything out.
Mom,
Yes.
can you tell me about the growing conditions of what we need to grow our irises?
You need a sunny place. An iris takes at least 6 hours of sun a day. It'll grow in most conditions, even if you leave it on top of the ground. A lot of times it'll sprout, so it's an easy grower. But they are very susceptible to root rot. So you want to make sure that your soil is well drained. Do better on a hill. They don't do well in a little valley where water collects.
And how do you plant them? Deep? Shallow?
No. Some iris growers say that the rhizome, the top of the rhizome should show. But when you're planting a new iris and you spread the roots out like this, so you dig a little hole and you get the roots down into the hole, and then it's kind of hard to hold this up. So you kind of put some dirt here trying to get in this position.
Okay.
I put it down. I actually covered it with a little bit of soil because I wanted to get root. Once it gets a root, you can kind of straighten it up if you need to. And most of it will straighten up itself. Now, one of our iris growers says that an iris, even if it's a little bit deeper, will find its own place. It'll rise up. But I think I've discovered why she says that, because today, in digging these irises, some of them had been in the ground, I hate to tell you, about 5 years. And actually, they grew right on top of one another. So the new growth, this might be the old growth here, the new growth came up here, so that made it look like the iris was actually higher. So please don't plant them real deep, because, as I said, with all extra moisture, they can dry out and they may rot on you. So there's also some insects to worry about. There's an iris borer, they'll make holes into it. So you just take them out, do them in a bleach solution. Some people put, if it starts to show a little bit of rot around here, take this out, put some Comet, rub that in really good, and then put it back in the ground, and usually it'll take off again.
So, Mom, show us how you would plant them in all 4 of these irises.
Okay,
We'll pretend that is the ground right there.
Okay, this is ground. So I take the iris, I open up so that I have some roots on both sides. And I've already dug this hole right here, okay? So put the roots down in the hole, then this, and then trying to prop it up like this. I think I told you this before. But I wanted to show you that each one of these lines, that was a leaf like this. And this iris is going to grow this way. So it does not grow this way, it goes that way. This one's going to grow that way. I usually do mine in a triangle. If I have plenty of them replanting, I can do a fourth one, and I'll let it grow this way, so it fills a hole there. So this one's going this way, that one's going that way, this one's going this way, and this one's going to fill the hole right there.
Because sometimes I've planted mine in a circle and then I have a hole in the middle, so
Yeah.
that was a mistake.
Well, it just depends which one.
Okay. So when you take these out of the ground, Mom, how long do we have before we have to plant them?
Well, actually, some of these I took out about a month ago. I wouldn't think over a month.
Okay.
Some of these over here, I will still be able to use them, still plant them, but I'm going to have to trim them up a little. So, say like one like this will still be one like this. Now this has been out of the ground almost 2 months, so I'll just take this off here on the side and trim this back here a little bit, and they'll still come up, they'll still grow.
Now, do you have to keep them once you dig them up for the month? Do you keep them in a cool, dark place?
Yeah, I keep them in a cool, dark place. That's why I could do this. If these were out in the heat, I'd only be able to keep them a few weeks before I plant them.
So you're keeping them in this old milk house that's air conditioned.
It's air conditioned, that's right.
I want to thank my cute little mom for letting me interview her today. She has such knowledge and insight about irises, and I wanted to share that with the whole world. Thank you, Mom.